Welcome back, everybody, to another, and this is going to be a really, really interesting discussion, but another edition of We Talk Photo. Today, along with Mr. John Pedersen, is two of the nicest people I know, and I consider really, 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 really good friends. And I'm very honored to have them, Guy Tal and Michael Gordon. And what's really cool about this is that Guy and Michael have known each other for years and years and years and years, and have become really, really good friends too. So it's not like having two people that just met and we're gonna, talk about, whether you should shoot this at f4 or f16. As you know, we don't do that anyhow. But guys, it's really nice to have you here. And for those of you on YouTube, you can see the four of us. Well, thank you for being here, John. You want to take it away? And
Well, I don't know. Too much pressure. So,
well,
what? Just real quick. I mean, what's up with both of you guys? What have you been up to for the last few months?
I mean, for me, life is it's not that much different. I pretty much get up in the morning and I get to decide what I want to do. And yeah, I live very close to some beautiful places. I spend a lot of time in them, and that's my life. I like it.
you still
Excellent.
spending time out and about in the hinterlands?
Oh, almost every day. Yeah.
It's his backyard, Jack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, I know you re-equipped your vehicle and stuff. So are you gone for periods of time again, or just day trips?
Yeah, I don't go on multi-day trips like I used to as much sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I go out for drives or hikes almost every day.
Yeah, yeah. Michael, what about you? You live in the middle of nowhere as well, don't you?
Yep, middle of nowhere with about 26 million people in Southern California. But,
Uh,
despite 26 million people, half my state is still wild, so I don't have to go far to lose all of them.
yeah.
But I guess my last trip was to the Chiricahua Mountains of southeastern Arizona, the beautiful Chiricahua Range, and I actually came away with a few keepers, which I'm happy about, and now I'm doing some life drudgery at home until my next my next venture.
Your next escape.
Actually, he just posted a great image from that trip on his blog. If you guys are not looking at his blog.
That
Oh,
Thank you, Guy.
good
that's
tip. Yeah, I'll
you
post a link up to that too.
And
you were a California guy. You're are you expanding your horizons now a little bit east of California?
I have been, yeah. I just, I'm not as prolific as I am in California, and I don't spend as much time outside as I do inside. So, yeah, most of my work is still California, but I now have a fairly good collection of work from Arizona on my website. Where a place I go a lot, but I strike out all the time is Nevada. I love it for the wild, but I fail photographically. But it's a very wild state, and Nevadans don't use their state, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Arizona, on the other hand, Arizona's not as wild as California and Nevada, so you cherry pick the wild places in between the city centers. But I still, Sonoran Desert and all of Arizona's fantastic plants keep calling me. So
So I
I,
got I got
yeah.
I got two things. Both of you guys. So I haven't even gotten to the questions, but you guys both came up with one. Michael, for you, why do you know why you have failed, and how do you know that you have failed in Nevada? Obviously it's your own standards, but
Yeah.
but why? I mean,
Um, I don't know. I don't know.
huh,
I guess because so yeah, well, so almost every year now I spend time in both Nevada and Arizona. Um, Nevada, I think it's the simplicity. So what I love about it, it's basin and range geologic province, so it's a lot like California and lower Arizona in that regard, big valleys surrounded by big mountains. But I think part of the biggest problem for me is a lack of iconic plants. So there's like, I don't have any plants to work with. It's just mountains rising out of basins. And that cha really changes things for me. So I and this will tie into hopefully that question you'll ask later, but I go there for the experiences. I hope I can come away with photographs, but
Yeah.
I keep failing. But at the same time, I'm learning all new environments, so I'm strategizing for future trips at the same time. So I know if I come back at this time and do it this way, I can get this right. So
Oh,
Michael,
that's
yeah.
define failing. What's your
Well, photographically failing, meaning I don't have any photographs to show for the time I've spent in that place.
so
So
based
that's
upon
that.
your own
Yeah,
standards. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just photographically because if I were to summarize a day by day trip recount, then every day was amazing. But the photographs didn't come
Right.
home with me. But I had a
It-
beautiful time every day, all day, and that's what matters the most.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic. And
yeah.
just for the audience, I think everybody here knows, but learning, I spend more time studying my failures, what didn't work, than just celebrating what did work. Because that's
Mhm.
all right, that worked, that's great. But why didn't this work? And why was this a failure? As artists, I think that's where we learn and grow the most. And so that's kind of why I wanted to ask you that question, Michael. That was
Yeah.
great.
And maybe
Yeah.
just a slight addendum to that too is, and what Guy said about that blog post. I structured the blog post. It's basically three variants on the final composition, and the first variant I show is basically the postcard photograph, and that's basically what I don't want to come home with. So I can make those all day long, but I know what will happen when I get home, that it'll be a nice memory, but I'm not going to do anything with that photograph, as far as printing or showing or exhibiting or whatever. So for me, it's I need to keep pushing the bar and make new images that I haven't done before. That's a big part of it. And if I'm learning a new place at the same time, it ups the challenge even more for me.
Yeah, for
So
sure,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
So the other pre-interview question that sparked my mind was for Guy. Guy, when because you used to take a lot of multi-day trips, and you would come back with photographs sometimes, but you come back with a lot of experiences, and now you said you're taking more day trips. Have you? How has that? Has your photography changed? Number one, and if so, how? And then just how is that rolling out for you?
So my photography has changed, but I don't know that I would necessarily attribute it to that. My
Okay.
life has changed very
Yeah.
significantly in the last few years, and I'm sure that was the primary reason that I don't photograph as much as I used to. The other part is I think I've reached a point in my life where uh, photography, I feel like photography has served most of its purpose for me. It's something that I still enjoy very much doing, but I've always had a lot of other interests, and I realized that I want to spend and invest more time in those experiences in those areas too. And little by little, I work in surges, so I would just catch something that grabs my attention, and I will spend a few days or a few weeks getting really deep into it. And sometimes it's photography, but it hasn't been in a while. I've been studying a lot of philosophy. I've been listening to a lot of music. I've been studying a lot of science. And these are all things that are very rewarding to me. So I would say I've just reached a different stage in my life, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it has something to do with the difference in my circumstances because for a very long time now, I've had beautiful wild places available to me daily. So that has not changed.
hmm I was just thinking because a lot of our listeners, right? They only have the chance to roll out, on day trips. A lot of times day trips, unless you're taking, a dedicated workshop or taking a road trip by yourself. But how do we create photographs in a daily increments instead of across a span of a week being on location? It's just sort of a different mindset with how we create.
you know
It is, but I can tell you from my own experience, this limitations of only having this limited time to run out on a day or a weekend or a short vacation to do something, that was to me a major driving force in why I couldn't live like that. I couldn't have a, quote unquote regular job, because I didn't feel like I was living to my full potential the way that I wanted to, and yeah, I had to take a lot of risks and then make some very big life changes to get there. But yeah, so it would be hard for me to say, this is what you need to do if you have limited time, because answering for myself, when I realized it was a major detraction from my quality of life, from what I wanted to do in life, then it was obvious to me that I had to change my way of life.
And that's okay. I mean, it's okay to have a day out, not worry about
Hmm.
coming back with a magazine cover photograph.
Hmm.
I think too
Yeah.
many people over the years, too many people put their pressure on themselves to have to produce, you know, 5-star images that will please the populace every time they go make photographs
Yeah, and
or
that's
just
the other
go
thing is
out.
that, yeah, there was actually research that came out very recently that showed that giving up on what they called impossible goals was a way to significantly improve your life. So if you realize that something that you're really striving after is just not possible, it's just not going to happen, then find a way to give that up and find something that's more achievable and or more rewarding that is within your purview, rather than put yourself into that situation where you're constantly frustrated about something that you just can't do.
And we've said for years, go out for a ride. And if you come back with a photograph, so be it. And if you don't, you still had a better day than my poor wife on the other side of this wall in this room is with looking at two monitors chasing down orders for
Yeah.
Amazon people.
Yeah, and
Well, I've
another thing,
always felt,
yeah.
or I was going to say, I've always felt that, coming home, whether I had great photographs or not, that's one thing. But did I have a good experience? Did I see something new? Did I enjoy myself? Was I at peace and got some restoration from that? If any of those things were a yes, then damn, it was a good outing.
Yeah, and then that's exactly what I was going to say is I think a lot of people just have this results oriented approach to
Yeah.
everything that they do. And a results oriented approach is great in some professional settings, in some academic settings, but it's not necessarily a great thing for art, especially if it's art that's discretionary. If you don't rely on it to make a living, then do it in the most appropriate and the most rewarding way to you, and don't necessarily worry about the results, because really, if you think about it and adjust your attitude, it's really the process and the experience of engaging in creative artistic activity where you will find the greatest long-term life rewards, not necessarily in coming back with a keeper or a popular image. I mean, those would be maybe the peaks or the highlights or the anecdotal successes, but overall, I think cumulatively you will gain a lot more from photography or any discretionary creative activity if you try to find rewards just in engaging it, just in the experience of, being out in nature with whatever subject is appealing to you. If you like to be out in the street and observe people, then that in itself is the reward. And yeah, if you get great images from it, that's a bonus, that's a byproduct. And it's very hard to change that mindset because we're indoctrinated from a young age to
Our
be
whole
constantly
society expects
constantly
that.
productive, yeah, and
Yep.
constantly draw attention and constantly show, project our successes. And but really, if you turn art into more of an intimate personal activity that's about the experience, find a way to do that. It might take a while, it might take some effort, but I think overall you will gain much more from it.
Guy, when I was a kid playing music, I remember sitting in a trumpet section in a big band, and I don't want to go into the details, but I remember I would get like all over myself. I get angry and I get pissed off when I didn't play right. And I'd go home and I'd take it out on the dog. And next to me, there's this guy who played like crap. And he had such a good time. And I used no, I seriously, I used to say, how doesn't that bother him and you know what? He had a better time than I did.
Yeah.
A true story. I
But I
love
think
it.
what people don't realize is you get a choice. You can choose your attitude. You can choose what matters or doesn't matter to you. And well, why not do
I
it if
never
it
realized
improves
that
your.
till, and I'll tell you, and I mean this, you were a big influence on me. All those nights down by the river there and wherever,
Oh, thank you very much.
sitting in
Actually,
that
I'll
sitting, sitting
yeah,
in that
I'll
room with
share with you
Murphy.
one one other anecdote that you might find funny is I'm speaking with photographers, and I know that they go out on these trips to specifically dedicated to photographers to photography, and I can tell you I am, despite having the freedom to be out there photographing almost every day, I am much less productive than people that only do it in short bursts and go out just specifically looking for photographs. And I'm okay with it because that's not why I go out. So, you know.
Can I add an addendum to this?
Please.
In fact, let's see. Yeah, excellent. So Guy loaned me this book called Visions and Images. And it's by Barbara Lee Diamondstein. I'm not sure how she pronounces it. It's American Photographers on Photography. And some of the names are Callahan, Kappa, Eisenstadt, Irwit, Horst, Kertész, Metzger, Meyerowitz, Michaels, Morgan, Newman. So some of the greats, right? Siskind, it just keeps going. And Winogrand is an exceptional name there at the end. And many of these photographers in these discussions mention that they do not photograph every day. They can't. And many of them carry cameras every day, but they don't always make photographs every day. So even people who think they're going to make photographs every day, have committed their lives to it, don't necessarily make a photograph every day. That's just putting an awful lot of pressure on yourself. But I
Mhm.
personally love that book, and I think the discussions are very illuminating. And you can see my little tags. I got to get some of these on transcribed for my notes. I got some quotes I need to copy, and it's Guy's book, so I couldn't highlight it. So, yeah.
I highlighted it. Yeah, feel free to. But John, you mentioned earlier the idea of inspiration, and I just want to bring up that I've heard a lot of different opinions on inspiration, but there was one that I heard just recently from someone who's very well respected in the industry, where he said that people who say that they're waiting for inspiration to create are making an excuse not to work. And to me, that just seems so bizarre. That's like saying that, if you're not hungry, that's an excuse not to eat. But it's if you don't work out of inspiration, then what's the point? Just productivity for the sake of productivity. That's just an alien
Right.
concept to me. To me, the greatest rewards in making images is exactly when they come from inspiration. Just like you enjoy the food the most when you're really hungry or when you really want it.
Yeah, I would agree. I often, one of the analogies I use with sort of non-creative people is my creative energy is a little bit like a battery. There's times where it's topped up and full and I'm feeling creative and I'm inspired and I go out and do something with it. And then that gradually gets depleted and I don't feel a need to create. I don't want to create. I don't feel inspired to create because my battery is empty. And then it takes a little while to recharge that. And I do some stuff to recharge that battery. Then it gets full again. And I go out and I do inspiration and creative things with that energy. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think creating with inspiration is really where so much reward comes from as
Yeah.
artists.
And I think that there's also an irony about people that photograph the kind of images and then kind of places that we do is we literally place ourselves in places that are healing, that are gorgeous. And to be in a place like that and to not be happy just because you can't get a photograph, that seems bizarre. If you're tired, if you're feeling spent, that place has the medicine for you. Forget about images and get better just by being there. But yeah, that's just an alien concept to me, is just to go out to these incredibly beautiful places and to hang your happiness or your estimate of how good it was to be there on whether or not you come back with a photograph. That seems to me like you're setting yourself up to be disappointed.
Yeah, for that gave me goosebumps, guy. Thank you. That's why I go out. That's my church outside in a way, if you will. And it is very restorative and healing if we allow ourselves to be open and receptive
Exactly.
to
You
what's
have to
given to
choose.
us.
Yeah, you have to choose your attitude to allow that to happen. It's not just going to magically, force itself on you. But you have the best medicine for anxiety, for depression, for anything where you can
And it's
just
all
just take
natural with
take
no
it. Yeah.
GMOs, no
Just
chemicals, no
take
nothing.
a deep breath and look around you and just be
Yeah.
inspired and amazed with everything that's around you. And the hell with the photograph. If what you need is healing, then put the camera aside and get the healing.
And
Well, so
guys,
oh,
to
go ahead.
the guy's point, he lives in a beautiful area of the country. John lives in a beautiful area of the country. I kind of do. And Michael is around all these people, but not very far away is a, you know, I, I, how many people do we see, John, that live in somewhere and they say, oh, you guys live in these areas and you get out of the car and I have the Smokies and you got the Oregon Ding and all that. I live in wherever. I live in Iowa. There's nothing to photograph here in Iowa. And I look at them and said, you're wrong.
Very
You got
wrong.
to get out and look around. It doesn't matter. You could live. I had a guy that lived in a West Village. Maybe he's listening to this. And he says, "You guys are so lucky." Da, 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 da. He went back to New York and he decided he wanted to photograph doorknobs.
Yes.
And he spent 2 years photographing. They found
Yeah.
something to do right where he lives. You all can do
Yeah.
that. You don't have to.
Michael and I had a person on one of our workshops. He was a traveling salesman, and he would travel through Iowa and Kansas a lot, which you would think is just flat and monotonous. But he made some incredible photographic projects there. He would go into these little towns and photograph graveyards or old buildings or old churches. And I mean, there was a spectacular work, and he was obviously very passionate about it. He produced books of his work.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to be creative, the subject matter is always there.
And you could go out to these places and just get into the beautiful. I mean, it may be flat as hell, but it's pretty and gorgeous in its own way. And get
Yep.
out and
Get
enjoy.
into the weeds.
Yeah,
You,
I
you,
mean, get out of your
and if anybody's familiar with, Minor White's workshop retreats or Freeman Patterson's way of teaching, where they put you on a 10 by 10 patch or a 20 by 20 patch and say, make photographs, that has nothing to do with place, right? And I think a big part of the problem is photographers' expectations as to where they should be going and what should be inside the frame of the photograph. But you can photograph anything, anywhere. There's no limits.
Maybe we ought to do a podcast, John, someday and call it "The Perils of the Bucket List."
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
very true.
Yep.
Well, I think part of that though, Michael, I think that we're very fortunate with our knowledge, skills, and abilities to be in a 10 by 10 foot patch and create some pretty amazing photographs. Because I think part of it is not to beat on this dead horse, but learning to see. And how do you see creatively? When I roll up to a waterfall or a big mountain, right, it's really easy to know what the subject is, and we've all seen that before. But when there's just ground bushes and little textures in the dirt, how does somebody who's not used to seeing that be able to create photographs? And that's the hard part.
Yeah, but well, I think the hard part is getting yourself to a point where I mean, you have to go through the process of training yourself to see
Mhm.
these things. If you just expect things to just hit you in the face everywhere you go, you will
Yeah,
definitely be disappointed.
yeah,
But if you train yourself to be mindful and to notice things and to compose
right.
things and see what works and what doesn't work over time, you will be able to get to a point where you can just be anywhere and find interesting
Totally
things to
agree. But
photograph. But
society,
it
advertising, social media, what do? They hit us in the face.
Yep.
And we're
absolutely
just
you
getting
have to yeah,
indoctrinated to that.
yeah, you have to put in the effort, not just the effort to learn the techniques, but also the effort to adjust your attitude, to become more mindful, to clear your mind, and to really focus on what you're doing. And yeah, that takes work.
You
Yeah.
could do that driving around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't have to
It
have a camera.
It occurred to me this morning as we are getting ready to go on the air that this is almost just shy of a calendar year ago that Guy and I last did a workshop together, and these were things that we talked about in every single one of our workshops. And one of them, which we haven't hinted at yet today, is slowing down, right? Because so many photographers, it's about quantity rather than quality. So they think they need to get a certain number of files on the card. And if you just slow down and meditate on whatever place you're in, and you have some degree of training and mindfulness, you will find the photographs. They will come to you. But the first step is being slow. You just it can't be an exercise in collecting pixels. You have to just slow yourself down and see what all the
And
possibilities
be
And,
are.
and
open.
and you also
Yeah.
have to let go of the expectation that you have to come back with some kind of keeper. Just
Yep.
Yeah.
let that
Yep.
go and
Yeah.
just appreciate your experience. And every now and then, images will come to you.
Well,
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
if you come back with that great photograph, that's over in about a half an hour after you get back.